Hi, Chris. How are you?
Good afternoon, Rod. Yes, I'm well. Apologies for our recording time. I think it's all on me, as always, for being disorganised. But it is the 24th of August. It's 2025 still, and it's episode 186. And we're in quarter three, and we're racing through the year.
Is it episode 187? I think we've got that mistitled at the top, but that's okay. Other than that, I think, it's not always your fault. I went to Morocco. I've done things as well that's caused our recording schedule to be to the four winds, so I think fair's fair.
Yeah, I'm only going to Devon, so not quite as glamorous as Morocco, but I love Devon anyway, so I'll be happy.
I think that's probably fair enough. Weather check?
Muggy.
The last three have been muggy. You're going to need another word for that. I think
apparently tomorrow is going to be really hot, so I'm looking forward to driving down the M5 for 3 hours.
Bank holiday Monday as well. What could go wrong?
I was kind of hoping the weekend would be changeover day for most people, and if we go early, plan to stop off in Teignmouth, which is at the sort of top of Devon for us, and then spend the day there and then just do the last 45-minute leg. So I'm hoping it's going to be all right.
Well, I wish you luck on your travel, because going anywhere in the southwest is challenging.
Yeah, I'm an optimist. I'm forever an optimist, mate.
Fair play for you. Shall we go and do some stories that'll make you less optimistic?
Yeah, can you slowly erode my optimism?
It's coming, just you wait. Straight into follow-up then, and interesting news from the United States. There's a fairly nasty website called 4chan, which is full of imagery that you wouldn't want to be associated with, largely pornographic in nature. I think the users have a particular reputation as well. They are the site that leaked all of the celebrity things from iMessage accounts back in the day, if you recall, Taylor Swift and Scarlett Johansson and all these. Yeah, so 4chan is where all that was hosted. However, they've received a sort of strike from the United Kingdom due to our Online Protection Act, telling them they need to age verify people visiting it, and 4chan are saying no. So they could potentially be fined up to £18 million, but apparently Trump might sort of go into bat for them by saying American website, they don't need to do what the British government tells you. Wow,
okay. This is a website I don't think I've really heard about it. Maybe I did when all that horribleness with the celebrities came out then. This whole international law is an interesting one, isn't it? And we've touched on it more and more, I think, of how do I get there an American website, an American company, but they're operating internationally, a bit like Apple are. It's become more and more problematic. It certainly feels like in the last couple of years of how a company it doesn't matter whether they're based in the US, based in a country, deals with people or has users in a different country, how laws apply to them. It feels quite challenging. There's no simple answer, is there?
No, there isn't. But I guess if you're available in a country, then you're presumably subject to the laws of that country. I mean, that's why we have GDPR and all those cookie warnings everywhere. Even Americans get those because you're subject to the laws of that country. However, I take your point that just because the United Kingdom government has passed a law, why should an American website really care about that? Particularly when it's something they have no interest in doing this. I suspect they don't make money from the population of the United Kingdom. I don't know what their model is for keeping the website up. Presumably people pay them privately. I don't know. It's not, like I say, it's not a website I've visited either. And I'm not going to bring it up. Maybe I'm not bringing it up on the podcast for us to look at either, given the nature of the website. So I guess it's interesting. And if the Trump government went to bat for Apple, saying you're not allowed to put backdoors into all the data protection stuff that's within iCloud, presumably they'll do the same for other websites, and that might spell the beginning of the end of the online protection law, because if 4chan get backed up by the United States governments, then presumably others will. Reddit, for example, I think is an American company. Maybe they'll start doing it too.
You kind of need like international, I can't think of the right name, but like data services laws. It's not the right name, but you know what I mean, like internet law that is international rather than
like maritime law. If you go 5 miles outside of a country, then it's maritime law, isn't it? So different rules apply. I don't know. I mean, you and I aren't going to fix this. We're not lawyers. We don't really understand everything that's going on. It will be interesting to see how this sort of finishes up, really, that you start to have this pushing into sovereignty of countries as well, and everybody backs down in the United States. So
yeah, I don't know. It's just one I can't. Like I say, never really thought about until very recently that it's. I don't know. It's just becoming much more of an issue.
It is. Something else that's an issue is the state of Siri. We've talked about this just last week. I think we both had a bit of a rant about how rubbish Siri was. And we've wondered what Apple is going to do about it. Obviously, Apple Intelligence was meant to make Siri smarter and didn't. And in fact, we even talked about a potential rebrand Siri coming up, having wasted the lovely sort of purple effect that you get. Not that I have it. I've got it switched off in old Siri, but you've got the new effect. One of their options, if they can't make an internal thing working, is to work with third parties. And apparently, according to this rumor in 9to5 Mac, is that Google Gemini is one of the ones under examination for next-gen Siri. What do you think of this?
It's quite interesting, isn't it? Because Google were very much behind the curve, and I'm hearing more and more about Gemini as the years gone on. It'd be very interesting, though, if they were to concede to Google at this point, like they used to use Google Maps, and then they did their own. Could it be a similar scenario? I think Apple should embrace third parties if they can't do it themselves. Why not? Or allow the user to pick what service they want.
I guess they've got nothing to lose. I mean, they can do a LLM off, can't they? They can see ChatGPTs, they can see Geminis, they can see Perplexity doesn't have its own one, does it? It makes use of other providers.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, so why not? Why not shop it around Claude, Mistral, DeepSeek, and see which is the best one? I suspect the Chinese government would like you to use DeepSeek on your Apple device.
I guess would it be would there be country variances as we are seeing more and more, like with the App Store and things?
But if you have a basic model that works, it knows how to be invoked by Siri and to work some of the things on the phone or iPad or Mac, wherever it's deployed, then maybe let the customer choose.
Yeah, that could be a good solution, but then would you end up with a comparison chart of, with Claude you can do this, with Gemini you can and can't do these, and Copilot you can do this, or OpenAI and so on and so forth. I don't know.
Possibly.
They're in a really tricky spot, aren't they?
They are. At the same time, I think, given that we've talked about potentially an AI bubble bursting, maybe their reticence to actually go on and do something in this may play to their advantage. There will be one or two clear winners, and you just go from there. We're going to speak about a story in the main part of the news that I think is horrifying, frankly. But it could be a good time to actually have come second in something. We shall see. Not all of these companies can survive.
True, especially with the alarming amounts of money they're spending. Okay, should we move on?
Let's move on and talk about Trump's awesome phone. So we did talk about this on the podcast when it was announced. He was going to have I think it was a $599 device. It was going to be entirely made in America. It was going to be a lovely gold color and have an American flag on the back. And it's changed slightly. It was a mocked-up iPhone in an original one. In its original version, it's now a mocked-up Samsung Galaxy S25 with a Spigen case on it. Apparently, they haven't even done that good a job on the Photoshop because you can actually still see the Spigen logo on the version as well. They've basically just slapped a flag on it and they've gone from there. So there you go. Are you in the market for a nice gold Trump fake S25?
I'm confused what they're doing here. They're going to launch a phone, but they've got no idea what it looks like, so they just took an iPhone and put Trump's name on the back and then stuck the American flag on it. Now they're taking the S25 Ultra, and for listeners, it's gold. It's basically an S25 Ultra in gold with lots of cameras on it, and there's a big T on the back, obviously for Trump, and then there's an American flag right near the bottom, and you can still see the embossed, do you say Spigen logo? I just don't really understand why they're doing this. I don't know. Just if you're going to announce a phone, fine, but why just Photoshop something? Why not? I guess there's no product, is there?
There is no product, is the thing. I guess somebody is going to, if you're that much of a Make America Great Again patriot, then you've got to have the Trump phone to match your president. So there's money to be made. People are going to try and make it, but I don't think thousands of people will rush out to be buying a Trump T1 phone when there's lots of perfectly good manufacturers in place already. Apparently they've even said that it will no longer be made in America, but plenty of American hands will touch it before it does actually make it into your pocket. So there must be a demographic there for that, or they wouldn't be talking about it, surely.
Yeah, I guess so. And there's a $47 a month plan that goes with it, and the customer service centre is going to be based in the USA. I don't know, it just all feels a bit weird. And they're still showing photos of some form of looking Apple iPhone that's in gold on the website. So it feels like they're a little bit all over the show at the moment. It just doesn't feel very confidence-inducing when they don't know what sort of phone it's actually going to be. I don't know, I find it very bizarre.
I can only agree with you. I mean, they're obviously going to eventually get something at the door, but it's been massively delayed, and you're going to get some variant of a copy of a Chinese phone, would be my impression, that there is what they're going to do here, which is fine. There's lots of very good Chinese phones. See Oppo, see, Xiaomi, see others. So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but they're going to want some third-party brand to stick the Trump logo on.
Yeah, just all a bit weird. That's what we're going to go with, I think.
Fair enough. Last week, we reported that Apple had done what they thought was quite a clever thing and had decided to do the processing of the oxygen sensor on the phone rather than on the watch. This caused the American Customs Department to allow the Apple Watch to be sold in the United States again. Masimo are suing them again, actually suing the Customs Department this time for letting this happen because they think it's still breaching their copyright.
Wow, I feel for Masimo because it feels like they're losing out here because there's been no settlement. They must have spent a small fortune in legal chasing Apple. Now Apple have done a workaround. Now they're chasing US Customs. Really interesting how this is going to play out. I think it's all gone on way longer than we all thought. And obviously Masimo want to get their money for their patent, which I kind of understand if they've invented it and they're not just a patent troll.
But it wasn't just that, apparently. The story with Masimo was that Apple went and were sort of floating the idea of buying the company or working in partnership with Masimo. So Masimo showed them all their stuff while they were there, and then they went away and sort of reverse engineered it.
Oh, okay, that's worse.
It's nasty.
That's worse, isn't it? That's not a good look for Apple, is it?
It's really not. I mean, with all the money and resources they've got. It did take them a long time to get that sensor out the door, though, as we recall, because they've been talking about it for a while, and the timing of it was amazing just at the start of COVID. But even then, it's not the greatest sensor in the world. It's not very accurate. It takes time to do it. It's sort of more of a recommended guideline than if you want to take your pulse sats, go and buy a thing from your chemist that clips onto your finger and gives you an accurate pulse saturation.
Yeah, I think Masimo, though, on the whole, probably wouldn't have been a good fit for Apple because they do lots of medical, instruments, machinery. I don't know what the correct terminology is, but it's not really the right fit for Apple. They're just interested in maybe a couple of sensors and patents. Maybe they should come to a deal on those.
I don't know. I mean, Apple were pushing the Apple Watch, and we often hear rumoured in the headphones medical type readings of things. Let's face it, we've got heart rate now, we've got pulse saturation now, we've got temperature now. They'd probably quite like blood pressure. We've heard rumours of them wanting blood glucose. So I don't know that a company that's good at making medical devices, maybe not syringe drivers or whatever, but actual sensors for things would be a really good fit for Apple. It might have been a sensible purchase. Again, they've got all the money; it wouldn't have been a problem. And then all this patent stuff wouldn't have been an issue. And maybe they had the other things on the drawing board that would have fit nicely into an existing Apple product.
Yeah, or could they, like I say, come to an agreement where they, rather than buy the whole medical piece, but they have some partnership alliance, where they go for the more consumer-orientated tech, which is obviously what Apple's market is.
Anyway, now the Customs and Border Protection lots are in hot water with the patent office as well, with the patent as well. So I guess we'll see where this ends up.
Yeah, it just keeps going on for Apple, doesn't it?
We haven't heard that Apple have stopped selling the watches in America, though, so this isn't obviously causing any massive problem to them selling watches this holiday season.
No, feels like a non-event for Apple. This is just an annoyance in their day-to-day life.
And I guess we're 3 weeks away from a potential iPhone Apple Watch event anyway, so the other shoe will drop shortly.
Which is insane that it's actually not that far away.
Yeah, given the state of the betas. Given the state of Microsoft, and we've talked about them before, about how well they've worked with Israeli security services and their part in that. Apparently, Microsoft is now launching its own inquiry into claims using its tech for mass surveillance of Palestinians. So we talked about this 2 weeks ago, I think, that potentially all the call logs were being held by the Israeli military services on Azure servers. Clearly, that's in some sort of breach or violation of Microsoft terms of service, and now it's being investigated by the company itself. I mean, presumably the company knew. Would be my only thing about this.
Do you think they know how much all their stuff's being used for? Because I guess a lot of it's encrypted and they just see data going back and forth. I don't know.
I don't know either, but if you have a sudden influx of data from one particular agency, particularly while there's a war going on, surely you're going to wonder what that is.
Yeah, yes, of course. But I don't know. I just wonder how much they actually have transparency, how much they actually monitor it, they have resources for it. I just don't know.
Yeah, particularly given it is it's an army. You would expect them to conduct some level of encryption on what's going on. Anyway, report in the Guardian that they're looking into it, and I guess we'll see where this ends up as well. Last story and follow up, and I'm not having a good day. A last story and follow up, if I can bring it up. It's not letting me do it. Safari is letting me down, Chris. I don't use Firefox, and Safari is letting me down. This is just a small bit of follow-up on the story we had last week about Copilot and Google Spreadsheets. I just quite like the headline. It took many years and billions of dollars, but Microsoft finally invented a calculator that's wrong some of the time. So this is the fact: if you inject the Copilot into spreadsheet cells, it doesn't add up properly.
Oh, wow. I mean, to be fair to Outlook, it's been pretty robust for a long time.
Excel, not Outlook.
Excel. So I meant Excel. Apologies. That was a funny slip.
Yeah, so this is bad, and we already said it was already bad enough that you could have Copilot looking at Copilot as the turtles all the way down kind of stuff. But yeah, you want your spreadsheet to be right, and if it can't add up, and to be fair, I have seen LLM struggling to add up as well. How many R's are in Strawberry it can't do. So this is maybe something that you might want to rely all your company data. Maybe don't go with Copilot in your spreadsheets.
Yeah, it's a bit worrying, isn't it? It is a bit worrying. And yeah, I don't even know where to go with this. And what happens when the new version of Excel's out and you've not updated to it? And is it going to get worse or better? Are the numbers going to change as different versions come out and and
possibly
the Copilot, back end changes? Ooh, I don't know.
Not great. And there's always a toot. Excel developers 40 years ago, we built the world's first recalc system delivering performant but accurate dynamic cell updating in any architecture or system. Excel developers now, we added a function that can sometimes give a correct answer. We can't tell if the answer is correct or not. Also, it shouldn't be used for numbers in a spreadsheet. That's what spreadsheets are for. And they then give the Microsoft warns against using the AI function for numerical calculations in high-stakes scenario with legal, regulatory, and compliance implications as Copilot can give incorrect responses. Why would you put this in your spreadsheet?
Shouldn't ship.
Should not ship. And as a responsible technical, any company that uses spreadsheets, you should not allow your users to put Copilot in your spreadsheets if this is what it's going to do.
And every company uses spreadsheets. Of some shape, 100%.
Yep. So this is very bad indeed, Microsoft. You should have maybe thought this through.
I completely agree with you.
Shall we do the news?
Let's do the news.
So first up in the news, did you get the security update? I think it dropped on Wednesday, late hours of Wednesday night. Massive security vulnerability. Actually, you're on the beta, so you wouldn't even have seen it.
I was about to say, I've got all the betas. So Apple have dropped 18.6.2 with lots of just security updates, so nothing anybody would notice.
This is quite a big deal, though. Apparently, there's some sort of active vulnerability that was in use in Image.io, so when it's dealing with images. So a malicious image or a malformed image could give you read access to a user's phone. So that's or Mac or iPad is running the 18.6 versions of the software. Big problem. Update your devices, folks.
Yeah, they've done quite a lot of little updates, which is kind of what you want from Apple. They should be dropping the updates when they're needed like this. So it's good that they're getting them out the door.
Yeah, I'd agree. Another thing that you and I will probably agree is very bad is this is a story in The Guardian from today, actually. No, yesterday, Saturday the 23rd, that apparently a UK government minister is trying to get a deal with OpenAI to have ChatGPT for free for every UK citizen. Chris has gone silent and raised an eyebrow.
Oh, I'm just A, why? B, surely somebody's got to pay for that somewhere. So the UK government paying for that? Am I going to pay for that with my data?
No, you'll pay for it with your taxes, I would have thought.
They've got enough problems trying to make their books balance. They don't need to add more cost on. They should be taking cost out.
Well, they're going to give money to ChatGPT to enable this for UK citizens. And all right, on one level, I kind of get that. They want the next generation of Britons to be tech literate and have an understanding of these things. I'm not sure the government should be footing the bill for it. This isn't like putting BBC Micros in schools or open up access to the internet. This is trusting the country's data with an American tech company. This is on the back of
get bought or merge or could buy something.
And we've already seen that the State Department or whoever it is in the United States can freely wander into one of these companies and demand what's going on. I mean, think of this the other way around. Do you think the Americans would be very happy if it was a British LLM that was being, used to do this? I think not. Certainly not if it was a Chinese one. We've already seen that with things like Facebook. But this is also on the back of them telling us to delete our emails last week. We don't have enough water in this country to delete your emails. But it's okay. We're going to run enough LLMs for 89 million people in the United Kingdom?
I have no idea.
Something like that. That's not right.
No,
that's not right.
At all. They're just not joined up at all here. I just don't understand. I just don't understand why this is even a story we're discussing.
But what is the need? What is the need that's going to be served by this? If Britons are interested enough, go and try out the free version of ChatGPT. If you think something's going to make a difference to your business or you, then reach into your own pocket and make use of it.
Yeah,
Why?
I'm with you on this.
This is absolute nonsense. And again, unfortunately, it goes to show how clueless our ministers are when it comes to technology.
Yeah, it's not good, is it? It's not good. And like I said, I can't even believe this is something we're talking about.
And sticking with the theme of the clueless United Kingdom government, apparently Tesla is bidding to become a UK electricity supplier. I'm really not sure how I feel about this.
What? So they're going to be there. You can have like Eon and Octopus and Tesla.
Tesla, yeah.
And I'm sure if you've got a Tesla car, there's going to be massive incentives for you to do that. That's how they're going to start getting their customer base.
Well, the problem is, I think if we'd done this 10 years ago, I would have had less of an issue with this. But given how the leader of Tesla his politics shifted and he started funding things and all the rest of it, I think as a voter, and I guess I can vote on my wallet as well. I don't have to subscribe to Tesla as an energy company, but it seems a bit wrong. But 10 years ago, Tesla, for solar and for putting into the grid, and if there was lots of good things around it behind that would have been fine. But this strikes me as bad.
It does, but I guess Tesla need to diversify a little bit because obviously they're struggling to shift cars. So maybe they're trying to move into that space. They've already got obviously power banks.
Yeah, they've got power walls, I think they're called, and then there's all that, that's good. I'm all for green energy, but I don't know if Tesla's the right company I want supplying my power. But
I wouldn't want them.
Anyway, this is the Liberal Democrat leader Ed Davies saying Musk is a threat to national security, which we've seen with X and which we've seen with the way he's voted with his wallet for politics.
So do you think they're going to ban everybody from using SpaceX satellite connections? Because that's something I've explored at work scenarios, because if you're using cellular, why wouldn't you connect to a satellite instead? So I think this is concerning because there's a lot of companies he's involved in that are finding their way into lots of markets.
I think the bigger concern is the consolidation of all these things in just a few people. So if you look at Meta, Zuckerberg, he's got WhatsApp, which is used by governments around the world to manage its people.
It's used by everybody around the world, isn't it?
Yeah. You've got Elon Musk with Tesla and SpaceX and Starlink and those companies there, and it's that sort of consolidation in 5 or 6 billionaires, basically. Tim Cook and Apple being another one, where all of our services are provided by large-scale American companies, fundamentally under the control of one person. Certainly with Tesla, at least there are shareholders and board members and things like that, more obviously in other companies. So this is interesting.
It is interesting, and I guess I'm not surprised. I'm surprised it's starting with us. You thought it might do more of this in America or something, but maybe it's easier to start over here. I don't know how all that works.
No. Something else that's puzzling me, another story that puzzles me beyond this, is new iPhones and iPads in Russia must ship with state-backed messaging app. So this is the Russian government mandating that their Max, its state-based messenger app, must come pre-installed on these devices. This puzzled me because I didn't think you were allowed to sell iPhones and iPads in Russia anymore.
I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Trump came back to power and he quite likes a bit of Russian sales. Don't know.
Oh, yeah, no, I hadn't even thought about it, but you're quite right. Yeah.
It's a weird story. I guess maybe if they have existing devices still on shelves that need to be sold, then is Apple under the cosh to have to do that? I don't know.
Do they even have a mechanism to that? Because do they do that in any other country? I don't know.
I don't think. Well, I suspect in China maybe they come as default with whatever the state version of.
I guess so.
But it is very interesting because let's face it, we're probably not a million miles away from this in the UK. That if something comes along that is state mandated, let's pick the NHS app, which isn't at the moment, but let's say it had to be. Would Apple bend to that because it's the law of the land? Possibly.
Yeah, I don't know. Or would there be a government communication app in the future so they can get messages out? I don't know. I don't know. It does raise a lot of questions, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, not only the sovereignty of countries and their right to mandate what goes in the technology of them, but sort of previously and currently totalitarian regimes that do tend to mandate this kind of stuff if you want to do business in those countries and sell. And again, with Russia, I don't understand how Apple is. I'd be curious to see how all this comes about, really.
Yeah, what about Max? Why aren't Macs in there? Why aren't Vision Pros in there? Why aren't, I don't know, watches?
Well, Vision Pro, there's only 3 of them in use around the world anyway, so I don't think it's any great thing. But
No, I know, but you would have thought it'd just be all platforms, and I assume it's the same for Android.
it would be interesting to see this follow up because it's meant to start September the 1st, and I agree it should be. It's presumably Android as well. But you would have thought with Android, maybe you have a state-sponsored version of the operating system that you mandate must be installed on all handsets. Presumably Samsung aren't selling in Russia. I don't know.
Or if they are, they've got a different variant, or or some apps come built in, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. You raised some good questions.
I mean, we should probably have done due diligence here and done a little bit of Googling before we go here to see if there is still because the last time we saw, hang on, I will, real-time follow-up's always a fun thing to do, isn't it? Apparently, Apple quit Russia because of Ukraine 2 years ago, but Vision Pros are still for sale in Moscow, and this is 2024. So unless there's been a change in this since 2024, it seems wrong that this should even be a thing. Why would Apple kowtow to the Russian government to put a state-sponsored messaging app on there,
Yeah, it is odd, isn't it? And wasn't there something to do with the Apple Watch that you bought in Russia? Do you remember we were talking? That was a news item a couple of years ago, but I can't remember what it was. It was something. If it was in Russia, it had to do something. Like, if it was
maybe.
physically.
I mean, on one level, I think if a country mandates that devices must have app X installed, that's up to the country. It's not up to the vendor to do that, but.
But then back to international thing again. What happens if you're a Russian citizen and you bought an iPhone somewhere else and you take it back to Russia? How does all that work? I have no idea.
It's a can of worms. Should we just move on?
Yes.
Right, Vision Pros. There's something new for one. So maybe this will rush out and make you buy one, and then there'll be 4 Vision Pros in the world. But if you're a super huge fan of Harry Potter, you can now have an immersive environment on your Apple Vision Pro. Are you happy about this?
I think it's a good idea. There should be loads of this sort of stuff, but Vision Pro is just not popular enough to warrant this happening. So there can't be that many people that actually do this. But I'd like to think, a couple of years' time, Vision Pros will get more popular as Apple release cheaper ones, more apps become available for it, etc.
Yeah, I'd like to see it. I suppose that there is something in the whole augmented reality, virtual reality thing. My biggest reservation with the Vision Pro remains they haven't engaged with third-party developers, and we've heard Mark Warman and others saying there's no point in them building apps for the Vision Pro because Apple don't support it. So even if the device was £1,200, let's say, not out but with the bounds of nonsense like the £3,500 it currently is, I still don't know if there's a compelling reason to go and get one because I'm not enough of a Harry Potter fan to want this.
Agreed. But that could be quite cool if you're watching a Harry Potter film and you're watching it sat in the Great Hall. But it's more of a nice to have add-on than a compelling reason.
Yeah, I'd go with that. You're probably better off going and playing the PlayStation game because there's a Hogwarts PlayStation game, I think, that's meant to be very good. So
Hogwarts Legacy, I believe.
That's it. In fact, it might be on Switch as well.
Yeah, I think it is.
There you go. Moving on, Google had an event this week. They had their Pixel event, and there was a couple of things that was sort of quite interesting that dropped out of that. So this is where they announced their Pixel phones and sort of the next generation of software features that are coming to Pixel phones in the first instance. First, and they release watches in the same way that Apple do. It's interesting they get all their products out of the way before the Apple announcements begin, I guess, while there's a bit of news space.
It's a
first
good
off,
time, isn't it? It's a good time to launch.
I think it's a great time, and they certainly got a bit of attention, media attention for it. Marquez Brownlee and others, and certainly all the YouTubers, tech YouTubers that I follow, all had launch devices on hand, and plenty of them. It seemed to be quite a well-regarded launch. We'll talk about the phones in a minute, but this is just interesting that their Pixel Watch, which, by the way, I love a round watch. Well done, Google. I think round watches are correct.
Oh, I agree with you here.
It's quite a nice strap, it's quite a nice colour on it, but they're going to have satellite connectivity, which no Apple Watches do.
I didn't realise that, I must confess. I thought Apple Watches did do satellite. I thought that's where it was all born from, but obviously I was wrong.
You were wrong. This is the first one. It also has LTE. It's got new watch face. It's quite an attractive watch face, actually. I quite like it. Again, I think the round is quite compelling.
Yeah, maybe it's compelling because it's different than what we've had for the last 10 years, but I think it looks quite cool. It looks very pleasing to look at.
It does, and I quite like the sort of pastel effect of the straps as well. It sort of works quite well with it. It's the faces on them with sort of the thick black bezel are less obvious than the chunky metal surrounds that lots of Apple Watches have, particularly my Apple Watch Ultra.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with that. I think it does look good.
It's a nice device. Anyway, moving on to and we'll see how well this works because it's a Verge article. We should probably have picked better, but there we are. they announced all their Pixel 10 devices as well. So there's a Pixel 10, there's a Pixel 10 Pro, there's a Pixel 10 Fold, and I think there's a Pixel 10 Ultra or Pro Max or something of that nature anyway. These look really nice. I think they've stuck with their command bar sort of visor, camera bulge across the top. It's got bigger and bigger over the years, but I don't think it's a bad looking phone. And the fact that it now takes up more of the phone means that it doesn't rock in the same way. Here, I've got my Pixel 7 here on the desk actually to compare. The evolution of this small one, so what's in the Pixels now, is obviously quite a big deal. But to be fair to Google, they've gone from one camera in the original Pixels to 3 in the same way. And I think this is across all the phones. So the bog standard Pixel 10 has this as well, whereas as an ultra-wide, a zoom, and a standard camera lens. And with their software features, I think it's a really good camera.
It is interesting that if you look at it, and if it didn't have that camera bulge on it, it looks like an iPhone. But Apple have, we believe, copied that camera bulge, and it's going to look like that in the next one. So it's interesting. There's a bit of give and take from both sides here, I think.
Yeah. So the Pixel Fold, which is probably the most interesting one to us at the moment because we're quite into folding devices, they've shrunk the bezels on the outside screen, so it actually just looks like a normal Pixel phone on the outside. But when you open it up, it's got a square format, not like a wide format like most fold phones have, which is probably better for sort of pocketability and things like that. Less good if you're watching a film or something on it. But I think this is good. They've made the hinge stronger. It's now IP68 resistant, which is a certain amount of waterproofing, but more dust proofing is my understanding of it, which is really good on a folding phone. I think that's impressive. The price is a lot. It's $1,800 for a Pixel Fold, which makes me wonder what Apple will price theirs like.
Apple are going to hit the $2,000 easy.
Easy. But I think if it was in the market for a folding phone, this would be quite high on my list. It's not as thin as some. It's not as thin as HTC's, I don't think. It's not as thin as Samsung's. But the fact that it's got the Google software inside of it, and the Pixels are well regarded from that point of view. It has a next generation TensorFlow, just Tensor, it's not TensorFlow. TensorFlow's a Python package. Tensor chip within it, so it's a little bit faster. Still not up there with Snapdragon or Apple chips, but better. I think it's quite a compelling device, and I quite like this green color.
I think it looks nice. Their hardware's always looked good. I think if I didn't own an Apple device, I'd probably go Pixel.
Yeah, the colors are good. They're slightly less boring than Apple's, a bit more pastel than the sort of more vivid standard iPhone colors at the moment. I think for us as iPhone owners or Apple owners, the most interesting thing is the Pixel Snap, which is their version of MagSafe, effectively. They're building a round magnet thing in the back of all these phones as well. And these will be interchangeable. So, because they use the Qi 2 standard, an iPhone or a Pixel phone, or presumably the next generation of Samsung phones, will all work with the same magnetic rapid chargers on the outside, and that's a good thing.
That is good. That is cool. I like the name Snap. That's a good name.
Yeah, it's a really good name. Their marketing's not bad, Google. Again, this is the base Pixel 10, which I think starts at $799, which is a good price, about the same as the iPhone off the top of my head.
It's probably like the iPhone E, isn't it?
Is it? It's $699, isn't it?
Or maybe, yeah, you're right. That's the same as the iPhone.
So I think this is a good price for a device that has those 3 cameras in it. That's quite compelling. Got nice color waves. It's got a nice bright screen at 3000 nits. It's got a higher refresh rate screen than the iPhone, but that's not surprising, is it?
No, not at all.
And these accessories are good. I think they're interesting. Pixel Snap gives you it's all a stand as well as a what do they call it? Pop socket.
Yeah, so you can stand it up, and yeah, that looks great.
Yep, new headphones, nice refresh to the lineup. So I think this is strong from Google.
Their design, their kit, it looks fantastic.
Yep, it's really come along. Car corner?
Yeah, let's do it.
We don't have a lot in here. You'd be probably better telling us what your car's like, your Porsche. But in the meantime, if you ever fancied buying a used car, would Amazon be your first choice?
No.
That's voluble for a podcast, Chris.
I guess the only good thing is their returns are usually quite good, so if you didn't like it, you could probably return it 20 days later.
Rental return. What? So this is a story that on The Verge that I think in 4 US cities that you'll be able to buy a used Hertz vehicle directly from Amazon. I don't think this is a bad partnership.
It's good. It probably makes sense. Amazon sell everything else. Why not cars?
Amazon Autos, and we talked before in the story about Hertz having a massive backlog of EVs that were struggling to get shot of, Polestars and Teslas. So maybe this is a great way to join those two people up, people who like tech and used rental cars. I got to say, I'd be nervous about buying a used rental car.
Yeah, you don't normally think it's going to be great nick, do you? But if you're buying an electric one, they probably haven't been used a huge amount.
Because
still a massive phobia of it.
People are skeptical, and we've talked in this country at least. The used EV market, the bottom has dropped out of it. You can get an awful lot of car for still quite a lot of money, but not as much as a new one. You know, the fact you can get a Porsche Taycan for about £35,000 is frankly incredible.
I completely agree with you. And if I had that sort of money, I would have bought that car.
Yeah, so would I. It's a very nice car. I actually saw a little bit of Drive Tribe, which is Jeremy Clarkson, Richard May, and Hammond's YouTube channel.
And James May.
Those that I'll get them the right way around. Anyway, they did a little race. They did a race in an electric aeroplane and a race in a Taycan from some airfield near where they both live to the old Dunsfold Aerodrome, which is where they used to film Top Gear. And it was just quite nice to see the two of them doing a race again.
Yeah, that's quite cool, isn't it?
I should probably have linked to that. That would have counted as media. Anyway, if you live in one of the 4 US cities where this is going on, you can go and buy an NX Hertz rental vehicle should you choose to.
Cool.
Moving on, media.
Yeah, let's do it.
Apple TV Plus subscriptions are going up. If you're not what was it? Premier? Top? What's the top thing? Apple One. If you're not an Apple One Maximum subscriber and you pay just for Apple TV, it's going up. And I'm not surprised it's going up. It's gone up from $9.99 to $12.99. It'll be the same prices in the UK. And for this princely sum, you will get all the goodness of Apple TV, including For All Mankind and Slow Horses and all the stuff we talk about in this podcast. But I'm not surprised it's going up, and it wouldn't surprise me if next month if they say there's adverts in it as well.
They're all going up. They're all doing adverts, so it's not a big shock. I did read somewhere though, if you go and cancel it, you might get an invitation to have it slightly cheaper for a period of time. So that might be worth doing if you have got an individual subscription.
The worry for me is that the rest of it starts to go up because it's not cheap now, and it went up. It went up within the last year, didn't it? It was like $39.99 and it was $42.99 or something like that.
It is slowly creeping up. I mean, they lock all these users in and then just slowly ratchet the price up over time.
And there is a tipping point for me where I look at this and I really start to question if it's worth it, because as a bundle now, it's worth it. I watch enough Apple TV for it to be useful. I listen to enough Apple Music now for it to be useful. But as we've said before, other than the iCloud storage, there's not that many more services in it that I have actually any use for.
I completely agree with you, and I think I've said it before in this show. I've got Disney Plus at the minute. When that runs out, I'm going to go and get Netflix for a month, and I'm alternating rather than keeping them all because they're just too expensive.
Yeah, it is. This is a harder call because presumably there's members of your family on it as well, but there will come a point, and for me I think that point is £50 a month. If I'm paying £50 a month for this kind of service, I'm not paying for it anymore.
Yeah, the big problem I've got is my sons and we listen to quite a lot of Apple Music, and I could probably move over to Spotify quite easily. It would be more painful with them, and I don't want more IT support. And then obviously we back up all our phones to iCloud, and my in-laws' phones. It's just a can of worms at the minute.
It's not right though, is it, that they've got you by the short and curlies to do this kind of stuff?
Agreed. Like I said, if it was just me, I would have probably cancelled it and done something different.
Yeah. I mean, I could probably do a lot of the server stuff myself. I back up my own photos to Images, which has been an app of the week that I've talked about before. So removing that from the phone does actually make quite a difference. And that's the bulk of your sort of backups. But there's not just Spotify. There's YouTube Music. There's Amazon Music. There's Deezer. There's still all these other services are out there, and they all work the same way. And
I probably got Amazon Music. I don't know.
You probably do. I get YouTube Music.
Right.
And it works just because it comes with my YouTube Premium account, so I get YouTube without adverts, and I get YouTube Music, which works beautifully in my Volvo.
Okay, yeah, I can see the appeal of that because you're using the native apps rather than using CarPlay.
Yeah. So as well as it going up in price, it's also potentially losing Friday Night Baseball. This is not something that I think I watched it once just to see what it was like. But if you're an Apple TV Plus user, you got free Friday Night Baseball as well. Only for a live game. You couldn't go back and watch a game that had already been played. I'm sure for Americans that are more into the baseball than we are in this country, this is quite a big deal. But potentially they're going to be losing Friday Night Baseball. Apparently cost them $85 million annually, which is not a small amount of money.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. But it's a weird sort of halfway house of a service, isn't it? Surely you want all or nothing. So just getting the Friday night games are not good enough.
Maybe just because it was just Friday night and you could only watch them live, it wasn't compelling enough to attract new users.
Yeah, and baseball, I think sports coverage in America is really complicated. There's all sorts of rules about who you can sell the service to in the town.
Especially like if it's your team in your state, I think there's like blackout rules and stuff. It is quite messy.
It's very messy. I mean, most sporting rules are messy, but American sports seem particularly messy, it must be said. So that's it. Sorry, and we might be saying goodbye to Friday Night Baseball. You have put in James Bond.
I have put in James Bond, A Road to a Million. I don't know if you've ever seen this.
I think you mentioned it before.
I did mention it before there was season 1, which I watched a little bit of, and it was okay. Like it was okay. That's probably it. But they've just brought out season 2. And I thought, actually, my son might enjoy this. This could be, because I'm trying to find TV that is different but good for me and not quite a teenager to watch. And this may be one of them. So I'm going to give it a go. So season 2's just dropped. But he quite likes a bit of reality quiz show, challenge sort of show, that, especially if it's set in different countries and stuff. So we've been watching Destination X a little bit with Rob Brydon, which he seems to quite enjoy. And my other son even got a little bit interested in it. So this might be something else that we will tack on after that, because it's nice to have a short-ish season of something that you can watch as a family. I'm just trying to find more family-orientated TV that we can watch that's different.
Fair enough. I won't be watching this one, despite doing my Bond rewatch, and much as I like Brian Cox, this doesn't appeal to me at all.
He looks really well though, doesn't he? He looks like he's lost a bit of weight.
Yeah, he's definitely lost a bit of weight compared to how he was in Succession anyway.
Yeah, true.
A great actor. Welcome to Wrexham.
Oh yeah, so I've popped in Welcome to Wrexham because I've got Disney Plus. I'd completely forgotten that Welcome to Wrexham was out, and so I've watched Welcome to Wrexham season 4. It's amazing. If you've watched any other seasons, it's really good. It's definitely showing how if you pump a load of money into a football team, you can accelerate your promotions. So they've done really well. It's done loads for the community. I think it's a really good, humbling show, and I would recommend people watch it. I'm not a big football person, but it was a good show.
I mean, I like Ryan Reynolds. Who doesn't like Ryan Reynolds? I like Rob McElhenney. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia was one of my favourite shows, and Mythic Quest. They're both good guys. They seem to have done a lot for the town. But I note the Rotten Tomatoes ratings here: 95% from critics and 90% from the audience. So it's clearly well received. But it's football, and I had a hard enough time convincing myself to watch Ted Lasso. Yeah,
okay, I can see that. They do a good job of explaining stuff for people that don't know football, because obviously I'm guessing part of their audience is American. They may not know how our crazy soccer leagues work, and so on that, I think it's really well done, and they do explain how promotions work. And they're like, so if you get out of like League One, you get into the Championship League, but then when you get out of the Championship League, you go into the Premiership League. How is the Championship League not the top one? So it's quite interesting, but they do explain it for non-football people, so I would definitely recommend it.
Fair enough. Games?
Yeah, let's do games.
So I haven't played any this week. I've been kind of busy. Instead, one came across my radar that surprised me a little bit. So as might be obvious in this podcast, I'm a bit of a fan of Star Trek. There's a lot of Star Trek. I'll try and list it from beginning to end, not in chronological order, but it kind of came out in the 60s with Star Trek, the original series, and then there was Star Trek, The Next Generation at the end of the 80s and the 90s, which very quickly became Star Trek, Deep Space Nine. At the same time as Star Trek The Next Generation was finishing and Deep Space Nine had started, they launched a third 90s Star Trek, and that was Star Trek Voyager. And it was very different to the Starship got launched across the universe. It was completely by itself. It had no support from everything else that was going on. Quite an interesting concept for the time. There are shows since, but I'll stop there because this is a computer game about Star Trek Voyager, the least loved of the 90s Star Trek, I'd call it. But this just looks really quite compelling. You get to do Star Trek adventures, you get to manage your ship and sort of organize it in the same way that XCOM is. You can send crew members down to planets to do things, and it just looks like quite good fun. As a Star Trek fan, this is right up my street. I like the Voyager thing, so I just think it's quite cool that might be a thing that might be good. I guess we'll see.
This might be a thing that might be good.
Well, I've never heard of the publisher before, Daedalic. I've never heard of them doing a space game before. And IPs you haven't heard about given to developers you're not sure about may or may not be good. So we'll see.
No, I get it. But yeah, hopefully it's going to be all right.
I hope so. A bit of a base building Star Trek game I'm there for. Sign me up if it's half good.
Fair enough.
That's all I got in games. You got anything in games?
I played FIFA. I beat my son once, which is a new personal best.
I have played some Mario Kart with my kids, both of them. So we've been playing 3-player Mario Kart, and my Ultimate 8-bit Do controller I finally got to pair with my Switch too, and that's great. It's great fun. It's very chaotic though. With I think it's 19 racers and 3 people on screen at the same time. It can get quite chaotic.
You get 24 cars now in Mario Kart World. I love it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great game. It's the amount of details in the track is really something else.
Yeah, I struggle a bit with some of the tracks to learn all the shortcuts and stuff. It all kind of blurs into one for me.
Yeah,
maybe that's my age.
That's not happening to me. And they have broken the format slightly in that you maybe get 3 laps of the track that you're used to, and then it goes off randomly into a straight line. It's a bit weird.
Yeah, it is a bit weird, and some of the tracks do look a bit samey.
Yeah, they do. But the details... No, it's a great game. Mario Kart's always good fun, and that's good fun. And I haven't had a chance to return at Donkey Kong Bonanza yet.
I think between Mario Kart and Donkey Kong, there's enough games on the Switch 2 right now to make it interesting. Not cheap, but really good quality Nintendo franchises.
I did download Apex Legends for the Switch 2, because it's there now, but I haven't played it.
Okay.
So, there we go. Anyway, that was games. Should we do an intro?
Yep, let's do it.
So I think this is just a bit of fun, really, isn't it? We're not that we're scraping to the bottom of the barrel for topics in the summer of fun. That's the copyright upgrade, not us. But they use the summer of fun thing to talk about topics that they wouldn't normally. They did a rating of products how Apple values them. But we thought it would be fun to talk about what's on your desk, because we haven't done that in a while, have we?
I think we've done it for ages, so I think it's quite cool.
How do you want to do this? Shall I do me and then you do you, or should we go back and forth?
Talk us through your desk.
Okay, right. So I will start, and hopefully I've got the links in the show notes, and this will work. This is all powered by, and there might be some commonalities between us here. I have a Mac Mini, which is the device to which I'm recording this podcast, and I edit it on it as well. It is a M4 Mac Mini Pro. It's 24 gigs of RAM and has a 1TB SSD, and it's a fantastic little Mac.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I have it more or less the same one as you. I think I've got a slightly bigger hard drive, but it's fantastic. What a great device. It looks awesome on the desk. You don't really want to hide it away, I think, because it looks cool. But fantastic device. I think I agree with people that the headphone jack should be on the back, not the front.
Well, I disagree. I would normally have thought that, but given the little issue we had at the start of this podcast where my headphones decided to stop working through the next device, or one of the devices I'm going to talk about, it was really, really helpful having the headphone jack on the front.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I can see that. Maybe they should have put 2, and I'm not sure about the power button being on the bottom. I just can't understand a world where that made any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, the power button on the bottom doesn't make a lot of sense. One of the things I do like about this Mac is if you're sufficiently motivated, you can get into it and upgrade the SSD, and that's a real first for Apple.
It's not really Apple supported, though, is it?
Have you not seen this? This is a whole thing.
Yeah, people are putting about it on the show, didn't we? That somebody had made a third-party one that they reverse engineered.
Well, it's kind of gone beyond that a little bit now. You can actually get 8TB drives, and like I say, if you're sufficiently motivated, you can fit them yourself.
I would like an 8TB drive, but not from Apple, and I probably don't want to install a dodgy third-party workaround hack. There's a Jeff Geerling, who I think we've talked about before. He does some Raspberry Pi stuff that I think you said your son had watched. He's gone off and done it as a YouTube video of how to do it and how you get in there. But yeah, you can get in there. You need another Mac to put it in a DFU mode, but you can absolutely upgrade the SSD on your Mac Mini. Oh, okay. I could be a little bit interested in that at some point in the future.
You know, it's $1,200 for 4TB of storage, but I suspect it's no more than £200, $220 maybe for 4TB SSD.
Yep. Okay.
I don't need 4 or 8TB in my Mac Mini, but it may change the longevity of the device that this is actually a thing.
That's exactly where I was going to go with it. I'd make it turn into a great server when maybe it's a bit end of life. You could upgrade the hard drive and just have it as your home server.
Yep, I will put this link in the show notes as well while I think about it, because otherwise I'll forget. Second device, I've got to look at my Mac through something that's on my desk, so I look at it with a Benq PD275U, snappy name, great monitor. It's a 4K screen. It's got good color reproduction on it, though I need it. I'm not doing print or web design with this particularly. It is attached to a VESA mount that's attached to my desk, so it's on a nice pivot that I can move it around wherever I want to go with it, and it's just a beautiful screen.
And this is meant to work well with Macs, isn't it? I don't know what that means. Do you have to install drivers and software?
No, but there is drivers and software with it, so it will. the problem with using third-party monitors with Macs, desktop Macs, and laptops as well to a certain extent, is that you lose functionality such as the change volume, change brightness. The Bench monitors come with a little bit of software called Display Fusion, which lets that happen. So you can use your Apple shortcuts to change the brightness or change the volume on it, which is quite nice.
Right, okay.
But it's just a nice screen. And for all the horror stories that don't use a 4K screen on your Mac because the pixels look blurry, I mean, I guess my vision isn't what it was anyway, but I'm perfectly happy with it. And for 350 quid, it's not the fastest refresh rate screen. I wouldn't game on it. I've got another screen for gaming on. 60 hertz is good enough. It's the same as an Apple Pro display, frankly.
I was just about to say that. I'm sure it's the same as the screen I've got.
Yeah, but it's a really nice screen. It's got a lot of extras on it, USB ports. There's 3 different ways of connecting. I can connect with USB-C, DisplayPort, or HDMI. It's HDMI 2.1, I think, that's built into it. It's just a really good screen, and I'm very pleased with it.
Yeah, I'm not surprised they do make good screens. It looks nice.
Yeah, I'm a fan. Moving on.
When I had a 4K screen, just to agree with you, I did not struggle with it on my Mac or on my iPad. I thought it looked fine.
I think this is it. I think it's just maybe people are into print or web design in a very, very deep way, care about the pixel peeping part of it, but I'm fine with it. And there are ways around it. There's a couple of third-party things that will sort of add additional display modes to your screen in software and sort of zoom it up and zoom it in again, so you lose that blurry pixelness. So it's a software thing that can be fixed if it really bothers you. Moving on, I have a Logitech MX Master 3S mouse, which is S stands for silent.
Yeah, Logitech was annoying me because I buy a mouse and then I've got to buy another one 2 years later because it's quieter.
This is a good mouse. I don't think it's great mouse. There's a couple of nice features. I'm flicking this with a ridiculous scroll wheel as we talk, just so YouTube viewers can see how quickly you can scroll with it. It's got a lot of momentum on it. If you start spinning it, it keeps spinning, and it's a bit odd, and it's caught me out before now, where I've suddenly started scrolling it, and I move focus to another window, and everything shifts because I've actually left the scroll wheel spinning. The silent side of it, I suppose, is useful for this podcast. You don't hear me being quite so clicky as I've been with other devices, particularly when I was using a Windows gaming mouse back in the day. It's quite expensive for what it is, though.
They've always held their price, haven't they? Because they're seen as a premium mouse.
Yeah, again, not a gaming mouse. And I think on Macs, if I'm being super critical about it, is that the polling rate isn't good enough. The mouse pointer kind of jumps rather than smoothly tracks across the screen. That's not something you can get with a Magic Mouse or I got with a faster polling rate the Windows mouse. So it's not a perfect mouse, but it is comfortable in the hand. I've reconfigured some of the buttons. It annoys me that, well, it doesn't annoy me. I'm not installing Logitech software because it's generally garbage. So I use a product called Linear Mouse, which gives me functionality for the extra mouse buttons. So, for example, one of the buttons under the lateral scrolling wheel gives me expose, so I can see all my windows. And that makes the mouse an awful lot more useful. But that's not specific to this mouse. So I use this mouse. I quite like this mouse, but I don't think it's the greatest mouse. At some point, I'm going to go off on an odyssey and find a better mouse, I think.
I used to have one of these, not the S, I had the regular one. I just found it a bit big for me. I think I like the Anywhere mouse, which is what I've got in the house.
Mouse in the house.
Mouse in the house.
I also have, on the left-hand side of my keyboard coming soon, a Lightning Magic Trackpad. I don't know what generation this is, 2, possibly?
It is 2, but it depends on the radius of your corners, whether it's 2 or the 2 with the slightly different corners, or the 2 that does USB-C.
It's definitely not well, I think it came with a USB-C cable, but it's definitely a Lightning on the back of it.
Yeah, so you've got like the middle one, I guess. It's Lightning, but it's got you've got the old corners, so you've got the first 2 version.
How do you know that?
I just know weird stuff because I sold a lot of trackpads recently just to get rid of all my Lightning accessories.
When I got it, and I got it just before COVID, I was genuinely using it an awful lot. I had the Magic Trackpad on the left of my keyboard, my mouse on the right side of my trackboard, and I used them a lot. Linear Mouse changed my use a lot. I don't actually use it all that much. In fact, a lot of the time I just find it in the way on my desk. For a while I was really into it and gestures and all the rest of it, but I think as I'm moving around between more and more computers now, it's just in the way and I've become a more focused mouse user. So it's still here because this thing's on my desk, but I'm not actually convinced that it's very useful.
I think it's horses for courses. I used to quite like it because there's some extra features you could do with it. It was quite good when I used my iPad with it. I may well buy another one at some point. I reserve the right, but I did sell mine recently.
You're not one for letting tech clutter up your desk, are you?
I had a bit of a spate. I thought I'm going to get rid of everything that's lightning because my family is coming off the lightning train quite quickly.
Just amazing, Chris. For typing, and I can't find... Oh, no, it's all gone horribly wrong. For typing, I obviously have a keyboard. I have gone through a number of keyboards over the years. I've had Logitech ones, I've had Apple ones, I've tried gaming ones, and all the rest of it. My current keyboard of choice is from a company called Keychron. I have talked about it on the podcast before. Their website is incredibly annoying because if you go anywhere near the edges, it shows all the other keyboards it's showing, and that's really helpful that it's now showing a video. But I use the Keychron K3 Pro, ignore all the other stuff. Basically, it's just a really good low-profile keyboard with mechanical switches, which is what I wanted, frankly. I have the Mac version of it, which they don't seem to make anymore, so it's white. You can plug it in. It has USB-C. It's got a good battery. It's got interesting backlights. You can change the switches, all the things you can do with mechanical keyboards. Obviously, because it's low profile, I can actually show this on the camera. You're slightly more limited in sort of clickiness of your keys and things like that, but it is better than an Apple keyboard. You know, it has more typing feedback than you get with an Apple keyboard. It has 3 modes. It has Bluetooth. It has its own RF connector, or you can connect it directly with a cable. It has a couple of switches on the back, which I will try and show for the camera. You can just about see them there, where you can set what mode it is. So like some Logitech keyboards, you can actually assign it to have be different devices by just clicking a switch on the back, and there is a keyboard shortcut on that. You can have 3 simultaneously connected computers by Bluetooth, and then a 4th with a USB connection, and then a 5th with a dongle if you want, and change between those on the keyboard by hitting function and whatever the input is. It's a really good device. It's very, very flexible and is beautiful to type on. I'm a huge fan of my Keychron keyboard.
I must confess, whenever I look at keyboard like that, I never know what switches I need to get.
I just go with the bog standard ones because I'm not enough of a keyboard nerd. Basically, it's how clicky they are or how much resistance they have. So I just go with the one because I figure the manufacturers will probably give you the average ones to begin with.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's probably a good way of looking at it.
And all of them are better than what you'll get from Logitech or what you get from Dell or what you'll get from whatever with a bog standard keyboard. And don't get me wrong, I think Mac laptop keyboards are very, very good. They're not ThinkPad keyboards, but they're pretty damn close. But their desktop keyboards are garbage. Other than giving you a fingerprint sensor on the latest Macs, they're garbage.
Yeah, I don't disagree with some of that. Wait till you see my keyboard choice.
Okay, we're getting there. I should probably speed up a bit or we'll go long. For a webcam that you're able to view me on the podcast with now, I use an Insta360 Link, which looks like this for the YouTube side of it. It's a 4K webcam with some clever motorized stuff built into it. The clever motorized stuff is incredibly annoying, and the first thing I do is switch it off. It tries to track you around the room. It tries to zoom in on you. It always gets it wrong. Things happen like you'll be in a Zoom meeting with some important people, and your doorbell will ring, so you'll try and rush off to deal with it quickly, and it will follow you out the door and then not come back with you when you go, so your webcam's left pointing in the wrong direction. So I switch all that stuff off. Again, viewers of YouTube will have seen my issues with the camera over the years, but the picture quality is actually really, really good.
Yeah, it does seem to give a really good picture. But I agree with you. Occasionally it starts moving around, a bit like center stage when you don't necessarily want it to.
Yep. Moving on and coming at the bottom of my list, I also have a Stream Deck 2, which is a 15-key OLED little device that sits underneath my screen that you can assign shortcut functions to. So I have one for podcast. I click that. It launches OBS. It launches Google Meets. It launches Audio Hijack Pro and sets them all up ready to go just with a click of one key. So you can script quite a lot of stuff with it. I've also got, although I haven't used it in a while, a little time code thing. So when we're podcasting, I nominally, if I remember to start it, I can press a button and it will give a time code when something happened. So something happened earlier in this podcast. If I'd remembered to start it, it would have written a thing to a notepad document to say, at this time code, according to my recording side, something happened, which would have been useful if I'd remember to start it. I always forget. You can assign it for doing things like screenshots, launching frequent apps. You don't just get one page of things, as you see in the screenshot from the Elgato website here. You can configure it to have multiple pages of things. So if you want 70-odd, OLED buttons, and they are physical buttons you push on to make things happen, you can configure it with this. It's a really neat little device.
It does look cool. I've always fancied one of these, but I've never really used my Mac in earnest enough to warrant get one.
I think that's fair. Just a little example of where I've seen them. In my line of work, you go to conferences, and there's quite often these days digital posters. Posters are a big thing when you're an academic. It's like, it's not enough to be a paper, but it might be of interest to people. So it's the same sort of structure as an academic paper, and it's peer reviewed. So if lots of people go to a conference, having them printed out on paper in A0 is becoming a bit of a thing. Lots of places have TVs. You quite often see the reduced version of these. There's like a 5-button one of these, with one TV with 5 papers assigned to the 5 buttons on them, and you can use the buttons on the Stream Deck to flip through the papers. It's really nice.
That's quite a good way of doing it. It's probably not too expensive to do on those sorts of stands.
And it's a bit more idiot-proof than actually having a full-on keyboard and a web browser or something to go and find the poster. So I like the Stream Deck. It's a well-done thing, and it works with Windows, Linux, and Mac. As long as you install the right software.
If it worked with the iPad, I'd have probably got one.
You don't need buttons on an iPad. It's the computer of the future.
Yeah, there you go.
To record the audio for this podcast, because I've got a weird microphone, I make use of a Focus Scarlett 2, third generation one, Focusrite, I should say. It gives me an XLR input for my microphone, and up until today, what's worked beautifully is a headphone output as well, so I can put it all through one device. It's USB-C. There's no power or anything on it. All I really needed was the ability, when I stopped using my USB mic, to have an XLR mic, some means of getting that into the computer. So this is what I picked for that. So it's an amplifier, it's a microphone amplifier, basically. This is the third generation one. It still has one annoying thing. One of the reasons I stopped using my USB mic is I wanted a universal mute switch. One of the problems we face in this podcast is we're recording video, we're recording audio in about 2 different locations. When you press mute, it might mute somewhere, but it won't mute everywhere. And that's a problem. We just deal with it these days, but I had hoped this would give me that, and it doesn't. However, I think the microphone sounds pretty good.
It does sound good, and it's a beautiful looking device. Is that bigger than your Mac Mini?
It's wider than my Mac Mini. It's not bigger than my Mac Mini. It's not as tall.
It just kind of blows my mind that a device like that could be bigger than your whole computer that you use to record all this stuff.
Yeah, in some ways it is, like in width. I mean, from the screenshot here, that's a big headphone jack. It's a 3.5-inch headphone jack, not the little one.
Yep.
So that gives you an idea of the scale of the device.
It does look nice though.
It's a nice little thing, and it's a bit of colour on my desk. Everything else is silver, basically, so it's nice to have something different.
Yep, no, I can see that. I think it looks cool.
And last but not least, I am speaking to you now via a Shure SM58 microphone, which is this. Not properly a podcasting microphone, more of a vocalist. If you're a singer or a guitarist, you'll have one of these pointing at your instrument. But I just quite like the way it sounds. I think it sort of flatters my voice a little bit. Not the cheapest thing in the world, and I needed to buy the microphone amplifier to make it work. But I'm very pleased with the microphone. It's bomb-proof. It's so well made.
It does look a nice bit of kit, and it looks good. You can just see the top of it on the screen recording.
I mean, I do sometimes worry it's a bit phallic to have sat in the corner of the bottom of my thing, and I'm not going to dwell on that. And now I've said that, Chris will never see anything else. But it's a really good microphone, and I get compliments all the time when I do work calls from home, and I speak into this microphone. And it's like, "Ooh, you've got a fancy looking microphone."
Ooh, posh.
Yeah, they've been around forever. I think the original microphone, the SM58, was in the 70s. Was designed for it, and obviously it's been updated internally since. But that sort of classic and the sound, it's a cardioid microphone that comes from it. I'm a real fan of it. It's very directional though. If I'm not here speaking directly into it, off to the side it goes. But that's expected from this kind of microphone.
Yep, that looks great.
And that is me. So should we run through your desk now?
Your desk setup was not as... I thought you'd have more. I thought there was going to be more. I don't know why. I don't know what I was thinking. I thought it'd be multiple screens. So I'm quite impressed.
Oh, there you go. Tell us about starting with your studio display.
Yeah, so I start with my studio display. I've got the 1,500 quid Apple studio display, which many say I shouldn't buy. But I did buy it on the day it came out. I absolutely love this screen. It's 5K. The one thing I would change is to be able to plug multiple inputs into it, so I could have my Mac into it and my iPad at the same time and just switch between them. But I love the screen. It's beautiful. It's a nice piece of equipment on the desk. And to record this podcast, we are using the webcam that's built into it, and I've used it for quite a while, and it seems okay. It's not amazing, but it's okay. I use it for work conference calls. I use it, to record with you. It's just a great screen, and I love it, and I don't regret buying it. It was a lot of money though, but I kind of bought it knowing I'd probably keep it for a long, long time.
I thought you had a Logitech webcam.
I did, but I stopped using it at some point. I can't remember why. and I just ended up back on here. So I sold that Logitech web. I've sold everything I wasn't using is gone. So I've gone back to this.
I have one of these on my desk at work, so I know what the screen is like. It is a lovely panel. It boggles my brain every time I see it, and I think how much it costs, though.
I don't disagree with that statement at all. And also, it's thicker than an iMac, which blows my mind a little bit because the iMac's got a whole computer in it. This is just a screen with a version of iOS on it. So
yeah.
But you know what? If they brought out a Studio Display 2, I'd probably buy another one.
Well, we talked about it last week. I understand why you've got this. I think if you're a Mac user, it's kind of a default thing. You don't need to bother with a lot of the stuff that I'm thinking. I was talking about volume controls, brightness controls, all that kind of stuff. It all just works very well with a Mac. It's a bit of a tough sell, though, because the 4K I'm looking at is probably as good a screen in many ways.
Yep. And you could buy your screen 4 or 5 times over.
Yeah, mine was 350 quid. This is 1,500. So I could double up of two 27-inch displays at this quality, which the Mac Mini can drive easily, and I'd probably have a good experience. Nice thin bezels and all the rest of it. But it's a good display, let down by an okay webcam and very average speakers. With bad speakers for an Apple device.
I quite like the speakers. I quite like the speakers. I would say the bezels look a bit chunky on it in the current era, but I'm quite happy with the screen, and most of the time I don't really notice the bezels, but I would definitely buy another one. I think it's awesome.
Keyboard.
We're not going to cover the Mac Mini.
Oh, have I left? I jumped ahead. We kind of talked about it, didn't we? But
I won't go into too much detail, but basically I bought very similar Mac Mini to yourself. I got it from KRCS, which do finance plans, which is quite good. But it's really good. It's a great big kit, and it seems pretty bulletproof. And I'm really looking forward to putting the next version of macOS on it, so I can have everything in sync. Because it is annoying me a little bit that like some of the pictures aren't coming up in messages of my contacts, and some of the apps obviously a little bit different. But what a great Mac. I think the Mac Mini is awesome. And sometimes I take it up to the house. I've got a set of cables in the house and just plug it in up there. It's fantastic. What a great device.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Obviously, I've got one too. You got an M4 Pro as well, yeah?
Yeah, same M4 Pro. I think I got a slightly bigger hard drive because this is my main storage device, whereas you've got lots of other stuff.
I have lots of other stuff to store things on. I care less about the storage. Although when you're editing video, it's quite handy to have a big enough SSD that you don't really need to worry about it. You don't want to be squeezing things on there. It's a great device. I like it a lot. Its performance for exporting this podcast, but more than that, I use Mac Whisper for getting the audio transcript, and it's so fast at doing that, the M4 Pro chip.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic device. And maybe I should have got a studio, but the studio looked massive, and I should quite like how small it is because it's a very occasional device for me to use.
I also think, and still think, that there is no M4 Pro Mac Studio. It's an M3, right?
No, it's an M4 Max, and then it's an M3 Ultra.
That's what it is. You couldn't get the Ultra and the M3. So I think for $599, and you can find them cheaper, if you look online.
Oh, if you're getting the base model, this is no-brainer. But obviously you and I spec them up a little bit.
Yeah, which it costs an awful lot more as soon as you start speccing them, as Apple things often do. But for $600, you're getting an awful lot of Mac for the money. If you've got any sort of old screen kicking around that will take a USB-C or an HDMI, this is a great computer.
Given you're not sure how much you're going to use it, get the cheap one, get into the world.
Absolutely. Other than all of our caveats about giving lots of money to an American company, obviously.
Yeah, that is true. Should we move into keyboard?
Let's talk about the keyboard.
So controversially, I do have the black Magic keyboard with I'm holding up to the camera for those watching, with the Touch ID sensor on it, and that's probably the main reason. I do wish though they do this black and silver keyboard without the numpad. They do it in other colours, the white one, but you can't get the black one without the numpad, and I wanted the black one because it goes with my mouse, which I'm also holding up, and it goes with my screen and my whole aesthetic. So I've got that keyboard. I managed to get it relatively cheap on eBay. It's the USB-C version. I actually quite like the keyboard. I like the travel. I just wish it was a shorter keyboard.
You've really surprised me here because I seem to remember you going all in on the Logitech MX Master, the one with the actual mechanical switches.
I've got the mechanical one. That's on my gaming computer up in the house. And I do like those because it's got multiple channels on it. I may, if I end up changing from this keyboard down here because I want multiple channels, I will go and buy another one of those because I do sometimes use this screen with my iPad or with my Mac, and that's the one thing Apple haven't really got is that way of flicking between the devices.
So I didn't convince you in my Keychron stuff that you'd try another company's keyboard.
I like the Logitech stuff.
Have you tried any other keyboards?
I like that. No, I've pretty much in the last 10 years, I've probably just had Logitech or Apple.
I almost feel like I want to send you one, Chris, just so you can experience the joy of actually, seriously, the joy. It was a revelation to me when I got my first Keychron, how nice typing could be again. For years, I've just been an Apple user that accepted the default Apple keyboards that came with laptops. I had Apple keyboards that I plugged into them, and I just went with that. And I'd go for the old Logitech thing, and Logitech keyboards are spongy. They're all spongy. So
I like my Logitech keyboard.
But it's spongy. I mean, I'm not going to convince you. This is quite a lot of money. It's 199 quid for this. All right.
I paid half that for it. I got it on eBay like as an open box or something. So
yeah,
even 100 quid's quite a lot of money for it. But I do like the Touch ID thingy.
I guess you don't wear an Apple Watch to log in with that. But okay, all right. I'm not here to be critical of your choices. We're just going through them. But yeah, and mouse.
And I've got the same Magic Mouse. I do like the Magic Mouse.
Hold on, for listeners.
Yeah, this is Rod headbutting his microphone. I do have the MX Anywhere up on my gaming PC with the multiple channel thing if I want to work there. So I've got Logitech on my gaming PC. Down here I've got Apple all on my Mac Studio, and occasionally I use it on my iPad.
Yeah, it's not a great mouse.
I quite like it. I like it just because it does the swipey stuff on the iPad.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a great mouse. And all these years later, you've still got, I mean, you don't need to do it very often, thankfully, but you've got to flip it on its back and stick harpoon it to charge it. And it's awful.
It's not great, but I can live with that. I've got USB-C cable. Everything's USB-C it down here, so I can just plug it in for 5 minutes and it will be fine for another month.
Yeah, I mean,
this is really despairing with me now.
I kind of am. And actually, I'll flip back to the Mac Mini page just for a minute, because I'm pretty sure they have somewhere setups, or they used to have setups on the page.
Yeah, and people got loads of weird and wonderful stuff.
But even Apple are sort of mandating that you don't necessarily use Apple peripherals with Macs anymore, that you can pick other things. There you go. So that's not an Apple keyboard. That's a Keychron keyboard, with a PlayStation controller. There's no mouse at all here, but you know what I mean? Branch out, Chris. You might have a wonderful experience in front of you.
I just like my setup, right?
All right. Microphone.
I've got the Rode NT USB mic that you and I bought when we first started doing this. I'm still using mine, for better or for worse. It's similar sort of money, I think, to your one, but you obviously don't need the preamp. It's just USB-C straight in. It's been okay, but often you complain because my voice comes out very low.
I don't think it's the microphone's fault. I think we had these problems with software before. I think there's some rogue bit of software in the production side that's causing the issue.
Yeah, it could well be. I've had this on both Macs that we've used as well. So, yeah, it seems okay. It seems to generally work. I just, for whatever reason, record very quietly.
Rode make very good stuff. Their USB mics are good.
Well made.
Their XLR mics are great. I've got a couple of their Lavalier mics that you clip to your collar and record when you're out and about. So when I'm being interviewed, or I'm interviewing people at conferences and things like that, we clip them to our shirts. It records to an iPhone, actually. You get 2 sending units and recording in it. Rode make great stuff. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, no, I'm impressed with it generally. I think it's good. Then next up is I've got the Benk Screen Bar Halo, which is a little bar you put above your screen. I was unsure about getting one of these, but actually I really like it, and I bought the newer version more recently, and I've demoted my other one to my gaming PC. It's fantastic because my the lighting's not great in here because I've just got some spotlights over here. Actually, when in the winter months when I'm working down here and it's just starting to get a little dark outside, this is perfect. And I often have it on just to relieve a bit of eye strain. I think it's really good. I would definitely recommend it to people that just want a little bit of lighting, whether it's just to take the glare off the screen, which is what I struggle with. So it's fantastic. They're not cheap. It's like £150, I think. Not often on sale. Or maybe a bit less, 126. Rod is pointing out, but they've got summer deals on. There you go. But would definitely recommend. I think it's a nice bit of kit. Yeah,
I'm sort of curious with these. What difference would they make? I don't know. It would work well with my screen because my webcam's parked on top of it. I mean,
so you put the webcam on top of the bar.
Okay, I guess you wouldn't want the light shining on the webcam. That kind of makes sense.
Well, if you look at me now, and also it comes with a little remote gadget thing. If I turn it off, you'll notice that I have a glow around me when I turn it back on. So I think it's quite neat. And like I said, for me, it just takes the glare away a little bit, especially, like I say, I'm working late at night, but you're probably in a much better lit room than a shed halfway down your garden.
Yeah, your little puck thing you just showed, my bank monitor has that for changing inputs. So I get one of those too, which is quite nice. You've got a little remote device you can flip back and forth on.
Oh, no, that is cool.
Yeah, see, the bank are good at stuff like this.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think they do make good products on there.
Is it Bank or is it BenQ?
I'd say BenQ, but I've always, because it says BEN and then a capital Q, but I've always called it Bank. I don't know why. It's a bit like Dacia and Dacia.
It's Bank now. And last but not least, you have what I thought was an Elgato product, but isn't.
No, this was just something that they're not cheap at 20 quid, but this is like a bit of rubber, and you put your MagSafe puck into it, but you buy that separately. But I just think it's a really nice way of holding your phone on your desk. I've got them by my bedside. I just think it's just quite a nice way of doing your MagSafe thing, so you don't, when you pick up your phone, pull the MagSafe piece up with it. It usually holds it down for you. I think they're quite cool.
Have you not seen the 3D printing recipe for doing an amazing iPhone alarm clock?
Yeah, I bought all these before I had before my son had a 3D printer. So
I'd be curious to see you print one of them and see what your reactions are to it.
We probably should, because a whole spool of filament costs 20 quid, so we could probably easily print one and save a bit of money.
That should be something you should explore.
Yep.
Anything else on your desk, Chris?
Well, just bits of paper at the moment, but generally I try and run quite minimally, because I think I've had more complicated setups over time, so I'm trying to have less on my desk, less to go wrong.
Yeah, I have 3 laptops as well. I have a ThinkPad framework and an Apple M4 kicking around on my desk as well, in various states of installation. So, but I didn't think that I'm not using them on a day-to-day basis as my desk setup. It's really just when I'm installing stuff, but they're not worth going into.
Yeah, my only other thing is my iPad, which I'm going to discuss in a minute.
Actually, I've suddenly remembered I also have a pair of JBL speakers as well, but they're not currently switched on, so I don't know if that counts either. But for when I haven't got headphones on, I've got JBL speakers, which come out via the audio port on the BenQ monitor for when I want to do that. But I very, very rarely do want loud sounds playing out on my Mac.
Yeah, okay, I can see. I haven't got anything like that either. I do use the studio display, and like I said, I quite like the speakers.
Yep. That's it, I think, for our desktop. So anybody got questions to that, feel free to email us. If we've missed a product that we should have referenced in the show notes, we want to hear about it. And if you think there's something missing from our desks, tell us and we'll check it out.
Yep, that's a good idea.
That's a good idea. App of the week?
Do it.
Very simple. Pretty sure I haven't spoken about it before. Steam. I'd be a bit lost without Steam. When I want a quick game of something, it's pretty much one of the first 10 things I install in any computer, Windows, Mac, or Linux, I think. So I can have a game of Balatro or Slay the Spire or something simple, depending on the computer. On my gaming computer, I can obviously install a lot more with it than this because it's got a decent graphics card in it. But yeah, it's just been a very reliable app for a large number of years that I've got a huge library of things in.
I quite like Steam. I think it's a great app. I'm amazed how little it's changed, but it's a good app.
Yeah, I mean, they're obviously trying to sell you stuff. The Battlefield 2042 is on sale for £2.50 at the moment. Only going to work on Windows. Battlefield 6 is coming, can you tell?
Yeah, that's nothing, is it?
Yeah, it's really cheap. They quite often give
coffee than a cup of coffee.
And I think you'd have more fun with it than a coffee. I mean, it's not the greatest Battlefield title of all time, but as talked about on this podcast, I am slightly fascinated by the Inzol thing that just flipped past. You and I talked about this in the week because it's in the Mac App Store as well, and seems to be a new sort of version of The Sims.
I had never heard of it until you texted me about it. Now we can't find it.
I got really irritated by the fact that it was in about 7 different places on the Mac App Store, so I just thought that's a bit odd.
Well, there's nothing else on the Mac App Store, so there you go.
It's true. It's 28 quid. I didn't look how much it was in the Mac App Store.
Probably
but
more.
To my point about Steam, if I buy it here, I'll be able to play it on Mac Windows, as opposed to just Mac. So why would you buy it on the Mac App Store?
Yeah, I agree with you. Steam makes sense. If you can, buy it there, because you can play with it usually in most places.
And your thing of the week, Chris?
The thing for this week I've put down is iPadOS 26. Obviously, we spoke a bit about our betas last week, but I've included this week because I went back to work on Monday. I started a new job, and I have used my iPad every day for the last 5 days, loads of hours like I used to exact same iPad with Microsoft Office apps, but iPadOS 26 wasn't out when I was last working, and so I've actually got to use it in work mode and genuinely quite enjoyed it. I think Apple have done a really good job with it. I had it plugged up to my Steward display Thursday and Friday, had loads of windows open. It's fantastic. What they've done with iPadOS 26 is really good. I did have a couple of crashes, but obviously it's beta season. Hopefully get those ironed out. But it's just really good having the proper windowing, having more than 4 windows open at once on a 5K screen. I just thought it was really cool. Occasionally I get thrown though when something opens full screen. I'm like, oh, where's all my windows gone? But on the whole, I think they've done a really good job, and it was a pleasure to use it. So very happy iPad user here.
I think we talked about the betas last week. I'm not really going to add anything to that. I'm glad you're using it in anger. I did a little bit when it first came out. I haven't used my iPad much beyond a content consumption device since. That may change slightly when I go on my next trip. But yeah, I think of all the betas, the iPad one is probably the most meaningful. I still have issues with the design language, but yeah, the ability to have multiple windows and things, and even in Apple's own screenshots, that focus blur on the particular thing looks bloody awful. It really does look awful. However, the ability to have lots of things running at the same time on your iPad on an actual computer at last.
If they released iPadOS 26 and it was just like iPadOS 18 visually, but had these features, it would be just as good. I think the new visual design language isn't for me and it needs sorting out, but the new functionality in iPadOS 26, now I've actually really used it in anger on the second screen. Fantastic. I think they've done a really good job with it, and I just need to learn all the shortcut keys, which I'll get there.
Fair enough. I think we can call that a show, Chris.
Yeah, I think so. So if anybody wants to get in contact with us, Rod is on Mastodon. He's at G5Maniac at mastodon.scot. He's also on Blue Sky, where he's at G5Maniac.bsky.social. I'm on Mastodon, and I'm at _CJP at mastodon.social. You can watch on YouTube by going to our website and clicking on the YouTube link, or you can drop us an email at wakefromsleep@protonmail.com.
Talk to you next week, Chris.
Cheers, Rod.